Space Station and Dragon are about 260 miles above the South Atlantic Ocean now, having just passed over the southern tips of Chile and Argentina and moving in, as you can see, to the daytime portion of this orbit around the Earth. About 11 minutes away now from the Dragon's arrival at the capture point, and a little less than 30 minutes away from its actual capture by Station Commander Koichi Wakata using the space station's Canadarm2. Wakata here with flight engineer Rick Mistracchio inside the station's cupola at the robotic workstation, where they'll be controlling that robotic arm, using it to grab onto the Dragon. And here you're seeing a view of one of the displays they'll be using to monitor its progress. Dragon's bringing to the station 3,500 pounds of cargo, including about 150 science experiments. Some of the experiments that will be arriving at the space station will study things such as growth of plants in space, demonstrating laser optics for communication with the Earth, and focus on the human immune system function in space, as well as Earth observation cameras for the exterior of the space station, legs for the station's Robotic 2, and some experiments on protein crystal growth and plant biology. All that carried within the SpaceX, which is planning to spend about a month at the space station before it departs on May 18th and carries home another load of completed experiments and samples for scientists to study. Dragon now just 20 meters away from the space station, about 65 feet, continuing to move in. Scheduled to arrive at the capture point in about 8.5 minutes now. About 5 minutes left now until the Dragon reaches the capture point where it'll be within range of the space station's robotic arm. Koichi Wakata again at the controls for that robotic arm and prepared to capture it at 6:14 a.m. Central Time, about 21 minutes away from now. You see Wakata here inside the cupola of the station with Steve Swanson, who's been observing the activities this morning. He wasn't originally scheduled to be here when the Dragon arrived, but the launch delays have made it possible for him to be on hand to watch the activities, although Wakata and Rick Mastracchio are the main crew members in charge of the capture of the Dragon today. Dragon's now less than 50 feet away from the space station, about 15 meters, and continuing to close in. Another 3.5 minutes left to go until it reaches the capture point.
Houston on 2 for another corridor monitoring update. We see the range about 13.5 meters, primary and secondary range agree. We're in the approach mode. The white strobe is well within the crew aboard corridors. The vehicle size is a little smaller than the vehicle outline. White strobe position, we'll say in camera 3, the white strobe is inside the strobe tracker. Camera 9, the white strobe is just forward of the strobe tracker, and the strobe tracker is centered on the crew aboard corridor.
Copy all, good words.
Rick Mastracchio there reporting on what the crew's seeing in their window and at their displays, which they have been monitoring as the Dragon approached the space station. Again, preparing to use the station's robotic arm to reach out and capture it on the grapple hold, which you can now see in this view, directly in the center of the screen. The station's 57-foot long Canadarm2 will grab onto the prong you see there in the center of the screen and use that to guide the Dragon in for a berthing to the Harmony node. This view you can see now the robotic arm in position for the capture once it arrives at the point. That's in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. And in the background, a view of the Earth from 260 miles above the South Atlantic Ocean, heading northeast towards the coast of Africa. Dragon's now less than 10 meters away from this station and has now arrived at the capture point.
Houston, we have a exceeding limits velocity message.
We see that too, Rick. It should go away once the velocity settles down. Give it just a moment.
Yeah, it's gone, Houston. Thanks.
And Station Houston on 2, Dragon is holding at the capture point. You're cleared to perform 1.102 step 6.
We see it in CP hold. Houston in work, step 6.
Now that the Dragon is at the capture point, the crew is taking another look at their displays, making sure everything matches up to what they expect before they get ready for the actual capture, which is about 15 minutes away now.
Houston Station on 2, velocity exceeding limits went away, and then it came back, and now it went away. Oh, actually, it's flickering. Now we see that exceeding limits velocity. And as far as lighting, we see shadow on the grapple fixture target, and that looks acceptable to us as far as lighting.
Copy that, guys. Stand by for a go to perform the capture. We're going to give Dragon a few more minutes for that velocity to calm down.
Okay, copy. Houston Station, still ground 2.
Say again?
Houston Station, still ground 2. Thank you very much. Our press conference is completed. Thank you very much.
Copy that.
Still seeing a good view of the SpaceX Dragon 3 Now about 10 meters away from the International Space Station and ready for capture. Team here on the ground has done their go and no-go poll and confirmed that they are go for that capture, and just waiting a few more minutes to make sure that the relative velocity between the vehicles is right.
Capture sequence, perform 1.110, step 4. Begin monitoring the backaway cue card.
Okay, copy, Houston. We're go for capture. We're procedure 1.110, step 4, and we have the backaway cue card out. We'll be keeping an eye on it.
Capcom Jack Fisher there reporting to the crew that they do have that go for capture. Again, Commander Koichi Wakata will be at the controls of the station's robotic arm here at the robotic workstation inside the station's cupola. View here from the station's robotic arm as it moves in for the capture of the Dragon, controlled by Station Commander Koichi Wakata. Capture is scheduled to take place in about 7 minutes now at 6:14 a.m. Central Time. Everything looking good as it gets ready to move in. Commander Koichi Wakata slowly moving the robotic arm now into place for the capture of the Dragon. It's about 4 meters away, or 13 feet from the grapple fixture that it'll grab hold of for the capture. Now just about 3 meters to go, or a little less than 10 feet.
Houston, we got the exceeding limits velocity indicator we're holding on the approach here.
Yeah, it looks like that came up right as you were trying to go into free drift. Let's give it a minute for it to calm down, and we'll resend it.
Copy. It's kind of flashing in and out here.
Station
Houston, looks like when I'm ready to command free drift, I'm going to have to command arm and then execute for the free drift. You agree?
Affirm. And we're
okay, here we go.
You are cleared for that.
Crew paused in the motion of the robotic arm to check out an indication on their displays that said the velocity was a little over what was expected, but team on the ground here giving them the go-ahead now to get back into movement of the station's robotic arm. It's now about 2 meters away from the SpaceX Dragon.
Free drift, command sent.
And we're now showing free drift.
Just 1 meter now left to go, about 3 feet before the space station's Canadarm2 is able to grab hold of the SpaceX Dragon 3. And the Canadarm2 with Commander Koichi Wakata at the controls now has the SpaceX 3 in its grip. It took place right on time at 6:14 a.m. Central, while the station and Dragon were 260 miles above the Nile River. View here inside the SpaceX Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, California, where the team is celebrating the arrival of the SpaceX-3 Dragon at the International Space Station, now firmly in the grip of the station's Canadarm2. Again, that took place right on time at 6:14 a.m. Central Time, while the station and Dragon were about 260 miles above the Nile.
Houston Station on 2 capture is complete. You have a go for post-capture reconfiguration. And congratulations to the entire ops team for the successful launch, rendezvous, and the capture operation. The vehicle, the spacecraft, was very solid and very stable. And the Canadarm2 was really solid, and then it made it easier for us to capture. And the procedures and ops products were wonderful. Thank you very much for the wonderful support for this operation. Again, congratulations.
And congratulations.